There we go. Sorry about that. I was having some issues with the camera. Got it working. Should be much sharper now than last couple of class sessions. Excuse me. There we go. And that should... There we go. And now the window should be properly aligned. Alright, so let's go ahead and start off by having everybody say that you're here in chat. Just to start things off. Okay. So today, I just wanted to go over order of operations of things with you for the exam and talk to you about a couple of things. And then I have linked above here a link to a playlist. In that playlist, there are 2 videos that I produced. At this rate, probably like 7 or 8 years ago now, for Doug, my PhD advisor, about how to install Git onto Windows and how to use Git, the source code management software. And I'm going to want you to go ahead and watch those. And we could sit here and I could watch them and we could watch them together, but I figure it's just a lot easier for you to watch the videos individually. So we'll go ahead and break early, and I'll give you time to do that. And then that way we're not covering new material this week. It's just covering some basics of a skill set that will be useful in this course and courses moving forward. It's just a good skill set to have as a developer. And then I'll start distributing the assignments as Git repositories. And if you don't know what that means, that's fine. The videos will explain that. There's only the first 2 videos in that playlist, so you don't have to watch the rest of them. Does that make sense to everybody? I'll link the individual video URLs also. But we'll start there, and had a question about the upcoming exam, and I wanted to cover specifically how that will play out, and I wanted to talk about the logistics of that. So there will be one file upload portion of the assignment where you will write essentially similar to how we did early in the course with JDoodle, where you'll write all of your code into a single file. You will do that again and submit the file. It has instructions on how you should name the file, and the actual assignment part of instructional part of the question will give you instructions on what you're supposed to do in that. So just similar to how you did the quiz, most of you uploaded a single file anyways. It'll be similar to that methodology. You'll upload the source code file itself. You won't copy and paste the text. That way I can download the file and review it. Otherwise, the rest of the exam will be multiple choice, true and false, or short answer, just like the quiz was. So that'll be very straightforward, and you shouldn't have any major issues with those. So logistically, how we're going to move forward with this, I decided to go ahead and give you a window of opportunity to start on the assignment or the exam. And it will be from noon on Wednesday until midnight on Friday. You'll have 2 whole hours, a 2-hour chunk at any time during that period to work on the exam. So that's technically slightly longer than our course period. So you can do it during the course period, or you can do it in the evening. It's up to you. It doesn't matter what 2-hour period you use. You shouldn't have to use up the entire 2-hour period, but you have that available to you. I have a question. Yes, the coding portion is one of the is part of the exam. Somebody asked a question in general. Oh, they said here in general. That's fine. So we have more questions. We'll wait for those. But anyways, in general, you'll just have, I believe the numbers are somewhere around 15 to 20 multiple choice, somewhere around 5 to 10 true and false, like 3 to 5 short answer, and then the one programming upload question. The question somebody asked is, will I be providing a study guide for the like the quiz? No, the quiz was the study guide for the exam. That's the point of quizzes. So they're to give you an opportunity and understanding of question format, scoping of questions, format or type of questions I ask, things like that, so that you would be comfortable with that. I'll make sure here quickly to make sure the quizzes, I believe all of the quizzes are fully graded for everyone. I'll double check that, and I'll make sure the assignments are graded also, so you'll know from there. But we've discussed the assignments in the class, so the actual grade that you receive shouldn't be that significant versus the more in-depth review that we did. 5:30. It's about an hour of video. Is there any more questions about the exam? I know some people are hesitant that it's there's a required programming, but that's why I gave you it. Realistically, shouldn't even take you an hour and a half for this exam, but that's why I'm giving you up to 2 hours so that you can not feel as rushed and pressured, and make sure you do the work that you want to do. Okay. Yeah, like I said, the exam will become available tomorrow, Wednesday at noon. Sorry, at noon, and then it'll be due Friday by midnight or 11:59 p.m. And then let's see, what's the date? That will be the 29th. By the 30th and 31st, you should have 2 quizzes, 2 assignments, and the exam graded. At least by the 31st. That will be Sunday. I'll try to get them graded faster, but if everybody waits until Friday evening to submit them, it will push back grading accordingly. So, just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. But I think that's a flexible methodology for delivery and for format of the exam. The exam is very similar to the one I gave this rate a couple years ago, pre-COVID. So you'll and nobody had difficulties finishing it during the course period. So I don't expect anybody to have difficulties with additional time allotted to it. Oh, yes, the other thing is Thursday the 28th, there is the event being hosted by Code Youngstown. I am still debating specifically if I want to offer any extra credit for that type of event, but with the flexibility of the exam, you will be able to go if you want, or if you want to do your exam during that time slot, you obviously would be able to. So that's why I'm hesitant on offering extra credit. But if anybody does want to go, they're more than welcome. If they would prefer not to, or they would prefer to do the exam during that period, that's fine as well. So I don't want anybody to feel punished because they want to do the exam during the course period, if that makes sense. So that's about it for me. I just wanted to cover the logistics and order, like I said, order operations, how things are going to play out over the next week or so. Hopefully everybody will stay in the course. We won't have anybody drop at the last minute, but sometimes that unfortunately does happen. But at this point, I do feel like we're pretty prepared for the rest of the semester. Once we get, we talked about on the screen, the last class was JUnit and how to do some basic unit testing. And then you'll be watching these videos this week about Git. Realistically, I know some of you are going to hold off on the videos until this weekend. That's fine, whatever. Git is one of the best. I'll say it's a soft skill. It's sort of a hard skill, sort of a technical skill, but it's such a... I'll say it's actually a soft skill because it's such a benefit to your development practices that once you learn it and you're comfortable with it, the amount of interviewing processes and hiring steps that you'll pass over are similar to being able to speak a language like English or a foreign language or something like that. If you're not familiar, soft skills are non-technical skills that often during interviews are more important than your technical skills, depending on the interviewing process. But we'll talk and discuss that more in detail later. Git is actually quite simple, and I recommend you learn it from the command line first. Then once you learn it from the command line, you can quite easily learn it from how to use it in Android Studio or any other GUI application or IntelliJ or whatever, or GitHub Desktop, etc. Once you know the commands and what you're actually doing from the command line, then the GUI applications just make your life easier and faster. But knowing the command line is really useful. That's about it. I will let you go here if nobody has any further questions. And I will be available for messaging during the course period. Obviously, next course period, that would be on Thursday. Or also I'll be available in general, as I always am. Excuse me. Almost 24/7 anyways, so on the Discord. So yeah, but I'm sorry, what I was saying is that once we get the unit testing and Git out of the way, then we can really start focusing on more what I would consider software engineering concepts of advanced object-oriented programming, and why you would make use of these advanced features of object-oriented programming and how you make use of them in a modern context. So it'll be, how do you design good software, basically, that's in an object-oriented. And we'll just start really focusing on good design practices, test-driven development, things like that, which object-oriented programming helps and push forward and enable. So it's fine if you're not familiar with those terms at this point, but you get my point. So again, are there any last questions? Does that exam schedule make sense? You have, I'm guessing that's 36 hours roughly, a day and a half, and you have any 2-hour period during that time frame to work on the exam. Technically, I guess it's open book, but you really, if you haven't read the book and you don't know the material, sitting down in front with the book in front of you isn't going to enable you to answer the questions quickly enough. So yes, technically open book, but you really should make sure you've studied and prepared. Be familiar with all the basic concepts of the programming language, all the loops, all the how interfaces work, how to make interfaces, how enums, we covered those briefly. If you can just make a basic enum, that would be great. If you can do all the switch statements, loops, how all the basic variable types work, that type of stuff. Just make sure you've got all the basics down and then start building upon those, if that makes sense. In this course in particular, I've given the building metaphor before. I like to build a very solid foundation, and then once this foundation is super sturdy and functional, then we can quite easily and quickly build the remainder of the house on top of it. Which, if you actually know much about construction, is actually quite true. That's how Habitat for Humanity on those television shows is able to build a house in a week. Is once they have a foundation and it's super strong, then they can just literally throw people at the problem and make it work. So we should make really, you'll get a lot out of the remainder of this course, and should be much less rote memorization of content and more approaching development and software design and software engineering from the engineering/artistic standpoint, because we'll be approaching less quote unquote right answers and less wrong answers. And I'll explain what I mean by that. I've sort of touched on that before. So I've rambled quite a bit today. It's one of those days for me. Nobody's posting any questions. I was basically making sure everybody had time to type out questions if they had them. Let me make sure the window. Yeah. Looks like that's it. Like I said, I'll be available on messaging me. If you have any problems, you're unable to get into the exam, obviously message me / email me, and we'll make sure we can move forward with that. And then, but at this point, I don't think anybody will have any issues with just regular Blackboard. So we will go ahead and end the class session here, and I'll give you time to watch those videos, and then you'll be able to study or whatever the case is for the remainder of the course period or class period, and then prepare for the exam. But all right, we'll go ahead and end here, and you all have a nice evening. And we won't have a structured course on Thursday. If any of you show up to the Code Youngstown thing on Thursday, I'll see you there. If not, that's fine too. I'll try to make it. I'm not 1,000% positive I'll make it, but it's my goal. And then and that's about it. And then otherwise, next class will be next Tuesday. So have a good evening.